Merry Christmas one and all, hope everyone's doing alright. I was hoping to be doing the pergola, but that'll probably have to wait because it's a bit windy and rainy. So yeah, just thought I've sort of fleshed out some ideas for this middle bed conundrum that we've been having, or I've been having I should say. And obviously I need to make a decision fairly sharpish because it's going to be time for planting up before we know it in, you know, March, April, May time. So got a couple of months just to definitely decide on what I'm going to do. So basically, yeah, you can sort of see my issue here is that I want the garden to kind of be, you know, nice all year round, and the bananas at this time of year really are not doing it for me, and it puts me in a little bit of a predicament because what they're actually there for was kind of, you know, I'd kind of built the view that they're there for around the bananas. I put the bananas in first and then sort of decided what I was going to do and built the garden off of the bananas, if that makes sense. And then things have changed and we've gone from tropical to Jurassic jungle, if you like. So yeah, it's one of them where I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it perfect now. The bananas would have been perfect, and they are perfect when they're in like their full run, if you see what I mean, for those 4 months. But it's a bit too much of a compromise for me for them to look like this, or not much better for the other 6 months of the year until they start growing and bush out a bit. So yeah, what they're actually for is, if I make my way over to the walkout from the patio, so this is just as we walk out the patio doors, and the idea is that if you look right at the back where I haven't carried the fence panel along, i.e. dead ahead where the trellis is leaning up and all that sort of thing, that's going to be a big, you can see those rocks there, those rocks are going to be a big rock waterfall covering that whole fence at the back. And then this area where the washing line is going to be a patio, and the idea was that I wanted it to be a kind of secluded sort of, like, you get a glimmer of it and it's all covered up. So as we walk out, you can see the pergola does a great job of hiding the roof of that house. And then the idea is that the big banana leaves would come across and meet each other from both sides above the washing line, if you like, i.e. covering up the windows of that house. And then the sort of low to middle height ones would just come in a little bit and make it look like a sort of cave entrance made out of plants. So you sort of come out the house, can't see anything, hear the water trickle in, see a little glimmer of load of rocks at the back, but you can't quite make it out. So you then have to go out and explore and like duck your head down to get in there, and it opens up into a nice secluded patio area with a rock waterfall. So that's the kind of brief on it. And like I said, the bananas, when they're in full bloom, July, August, September, are absolutely spot on, perfect for it. You know, you don't get any better than the effect that they give. But unfortunately, as we can see, it's not all year round, and yeah, it's a bit, I need it at this time of year to be able to still look like that. So I'm gonna have to make some compromise somewhere down the line. And it's just where I get that compromise from. So we could do this with a straight bat, and I mean, one plan was to basically win the lottery, take the bananas out, put 2 8-foot tree ferns in there, the Dixonia antarcticas, and then they should sort of vaguely, the fronds should meet in the middle up high, and then the middle to low height, so I can sort of manage that with some shrub type things and things like that, and, you know, do something like that maybe. But yeah, so the trouble that I've got is that there is a bit of a brief for it, and a couple of things I need to consider is A, the sort of where that is in the garden. It's full sun for a start, that middle bed, but it's also highly exposed. You know, there's no canopy above it to be able to protect it from frost, and it's a very gusty, windy garden, this, and I'm a bit worried that if I put a massive Dixonia in there, A, if it got cold, I'd probably need to do, you know, wrap it or do something with it because it's so exposed there, which would therefore negate it looking good all year round. Admittedly, it's not as bad as the banana, you know, it's not a prolonged length of time like the bananas look rubbish in inverted commas for. So yeah, it's full sun, and then it's fully exposed to high winds, always gets the wind regardless of where it comes from. And yeah, if those Dixonia fronds get snapped, get cold, from my experience, they are really brittle. So yeah, it's one of them. But that's not to say I can't use a couple of tree ferns as you know, supplementary plants, if you like. So if we have a closer look at this bed, there's, to my money, about 7 spots for the plants, which you can see. I'm going to refer to them as the points of the triangle, and then the walkway ones. So it's quite easy for a lot of these, because that one there next to the slide is a Dryopteryx Wallichiana. Over the other side to the left of the slide up on that patio, that's a flower bed, that's a Wallichiana as well. They got frosted off bad last year, so I'm hoping they're going to come back in all their glory and I'll get a good idea of what they both look like. But they kind of mirror each other up there. If we get to the points over here, then you can see over there, now the Tetrapanax leaves have all died off. You can just see that Lophosauria quadripinnata over there on the right. And then I'm going to take this sword fern out and chuck it over by the big Cyathea, put another Lophosauria quadripinnata in there. That marries up quite nice with that. And then this point here, we've got the Atrata there. There is an Atrata there, but because they're so similar to other ferns, I can chuck other stuff in there if I need to, but if I don't, I'll leave that one in there. So that's the 3 points sorted. Now we've got the walkway ones. The ginger, you can just see at the back there, is obviously towards the play area, so the play area walkway. The Chiliensis tomentosa, which is this little one here, which is just a space filler, is on the patio walkway. And then we've got this Dryopteryx erythrosaura facing towards us on the grass walkway. So if I'm going to have those 3 point ones in there, and then what I'm thinking is the Blechnum chilense, which we'll go and have a look at, it is a runner. It's evergreen and it's quite tough, and it's a bit different to the other ones. So I think I'm going to take the Dryopteryx erythrosaura out and put the Blechnum chilense in there. And then where the ginger is on the left, probably get something like a small, maybe 4-foot Dicksonia in there. And then where the Chiliensis is on the patio walkway, I'll probably get something like a hopefully something like a 6-foot tree fern, so that when people are walking across, the crown of the tree fern is kind of head height, which would therefore make the fronds go up and across, so you wouldn't hit your head so much. So that's kind of covered all the supplementary bits on that. So really we're just worried about the centerpiece on it. So yeah, what I'm going to do is reel off the options now. I'll just read them straight off as a list, then we'll explore the pros and cons as far as I can see them, and then I'll let you know what the plan is in my mind at the moment. You guys can make some suggestions if I've missed anything, any obvious plants I can use to get this effect, or if anyone's got any great ideas. And then within the next couple of months I can get myself prepped and ready to go with it. So in not particularly any order, I'll just read them down. So like I said, the tree ferns, Dicksonia antarcticas, Fatsia, Magnolia, a Loquat tree, a Rhus tree, palms or a Cordyline australis, Scheffleras, Conifers, keep the bananas in there, or a slightly out of the box thinking one, which we'll get to at the end as a little treat. So if I just run through them and we can have a little consider of all of them. So we've already said about the tree ferns, maybe they're best used as supplementary. If I could get something above the tree ferns just to take the edge off the frost and things like that, and take the edge of the wind off it, that would be great. So tree ferns will be used in one way or another, but it's just whether they would be good as the centerpiece. Just remember as well that it's all on irrigation, so I don't need to worry too much about the watering of it with respect to it being in full sun. So with the tree ferns, it's whether I use one as a centerpiece or whether I use them as a more supplementary thing. The Fatsias, you can just see one over there on the left against the fence, the big glossy thing. I've seen them where they do kind of get to small tree height. Now the problem is that with it being in full sun, I don't think I'd get that glossy leaf, dark green leaf effect. They'd sort of go that yellow, and they're a bit more shrubbery type thing. So yeah, Next one is a Magnolia. They were actually around in the Jurassic. I'm just wondering if it might be a little bit too beastie, because I already had complaints from the wife that she couldn't sunbathe in the summer because the banana leaves were too big. That's probably because the patio isn't in use, but that's just something I need to consider, that I can't have it too big because it'll block too much sun out. So yeah, Loquat tree, again starting to get away from the Jurassic theme, if you like. I know they're an evergreen tropical tree, but that's just, you know, one of the ones on the list. So yeah, a bit farther down the list. Next one would be the Rhus tree. They look very Jurassic, and but they are deciduous, and from what I gather pretty invasive, which I can sort of manage, but ideally I don't want to be, you know, high maintenance if I can help it. So getting into more of the sort of ones I'm considering, maybe a feather palm of some sort, but I'm a bit remiss to go for the palms. A, I'm not sure if I'd get a feather palm that's going to be hardy enough, and B, the palms in my mind, I know they were around in the sort of Jurassic Cretaceous, if you like, but when you see a palm you think more tropical, don't you? And I'm going to go a bit more tropical out the front garden, which is where the palms are going to go. So that goes the same for the Cordyline australis. I'm not sure the canopy on that would get big enough. So yeah, maybe not them. Interesting one is maybe Schefflera. I'm not sure how big they get. I'd have to do some research on them, whether they just grow into like a shrub or whether they actually do in the end grow into a big tree. Now if they did grow into a tree, that would be fantastic. If we go over and look at this Schefflera over here, the palm 8 one in the middle there, they've got a real nice form to them, and they're the perfect kind of, like, you know, they're thin at the bottom and thick at the top, but I don't know how wide the canopy would get on it. So maybe I could use one of them as a kind of supplementary one, you know, maybe where this ginger is, where I'm on about putting a 4-foot tree fern, maybe put a Schefflera in there. So that's something to consider. Going back with the Jurassic theme, sort of maybe thinking conifers. You can see I've got a couple over there, the Wollemi pine and the monkey puzzle. I don't know if any conifers are going to give me the form I need, where it's kind of thin at the bottom and thickens out to a canopy. So just something to consider, i.e. I couldn't whack in something like a I've forgotten the name of them now, you know, like the Italian thin pencil conifers. It's gone. Anyway, you know what I mean. So yeah, and then the other option really is just to leave the bananas in there and work around them. The out of the box suggestion is to basically dig out that banana and maybe put a really high fence post in it. And then what I could do, because I'm going to have so many climbers around the place, is run some wires, you know, from each fence post, if you like, making like a spider's web circus top type thing from each part of the garden, and then just let the climbers work up it, and that will sort of give me a bit of canopy. I'd have to have a good think about that one. And then off the wires I could do stuff like put some hanging baskets on them and stuff like that. So that's a bit of an out there suggestion, which is I'm mulling over. So just to let you know what my favourite is at the moment, you can just see it poking through the bananas at the back there, is to take these bananas out and put that monkey puzzle in. Now obviously the issue with that is it's a conifer, and we all know what conifer roots are like. However, the ferns are, you know, they like dry shade, and it's not going to be amazingly dry shade because it's going to be under irrigation, if you see what I mean. So I fancy that they probably do all right. And then what I could do is put that small monkey puzzle in this year, you know, coming up this spring, and then get some pots like the size of that Wollemi one there, or the brown one with the banana pup in it. And then what I could do is, where this Chileensis is and the ginger is at the back, I could just sink like maybe some banana pups, because I've got about 4 or 5 of them, sink some banana pups in the pots into the ground. And then what that will do is, over the next few years while the monkey puzzle's growing, before I've got the money to buy some Dixonias or whatever, it will keep that area free. So essentially 4 or 5 years time, monkey puzzle's grown up to 5-6 foot, I can then just pull the pots out the ground and it'll already have a ready hole. I won't have to dig through the conifer roots. And the thing is, the beauty of the tree ferns is that obviously the roots are mainly for support from what I gather. So if I had a nice big hole and it was supported that way, you know, that it's not going to be out competed by the conifer for the nutrients, if that makes sense, because it'll be fed through the crown. So yeah, so that's the idea for now. Polystick and Muntium there facing towards us. Change that for a Lophosauria. Keep the Atrata on the top left. Keep the Wallaceiana on the top right. Move the Blechnum chilense, which is this one here. I put this in the ground about 3 months ago. You can already see it's run off to a separate plant here. So I could put that in where the Erythrosaura is on the other side of the barbecue, on the other side of the banana, and then that can just run around and fill all the gaps. Maybe chuck a couple of the Nephrolepises in there as well, because they run, and do that. And then yeah, maybe where the Chileense is there on the left on the patio walkway, have a nice big tree fern so you don't hit your head. And then where this ginger is, put a smaller tree fern, or maybe even a Schefflera or something like that. So yeah, let me know what you're thinking. Just because I can't stop looking at this thing. This Lophosauria is absolutely fantastic. The probably #1 or #2 hardest to get hold of, along with the giant honeysuckle there, which is still doing all right, as you can see. But yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. I don't think the gloss is, because you can see a lot of these, like the two ferns there, they're a bit tatty, and the one's gone orange over there, and this, that and the other. This thing is like full gloss mode, and it's not protected, so it's taken -4 already. Yeah, so yeah, anyway. So yeah, just to reiterate the ones that I'm thinking of: have a tree fern as the actual specimen. I mean, I could almost take that Atrata out, put a big tree fern there, if you see what I mean, and then on the other side take the bananas out and move the tree fern so they're sort of pinching in the middle, if that makes sense, so the trunks are a bit closer together. But yeah, basically tree ferns, one of them as a specimen: Fatsia, Magnolia, Loquat, palms or a Cordyline australis, the Rhus tree, Schefflera, Conifer, obviously the favourite being putting a monkey puzzle in at the moment. Keep the bananas, or maybe something a bit out there, whack a big fence post in there with some wires running around like I've got already, and sort of create my own custom canopy. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. Let me know what you think, if you've got any strong feelings either way or the other, and we'll keep revisiting this, because like I said, I want to get it all in and done as far as I can this spring, just so it gives it all a chance to grow. My next job, I've got all the wood for the pergola, so I've treated myself to having a few days off, hopefully between Christmas and New Year, and I'm going to finish all these struts coming across. So we'll go into this little crazy bit here on that. But other than that, hope everyone's having a good time, and yeah, I will see you on the next one. Don't drink or eat too much. Thanks for now. Ta-ra.